Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Welcome to Red Storm Chasers. I'm Vincent here with Craig, Tim, and Nick. In this episode, we're going to look back at the Michigan matchup as well as the Charleston Classic. And then we'll look ahead to our one game on Thanksgiving weekend, guys. It was an up and down week for St. John's basketball. Hopefully it was not an up and down week for you guys.
It was a packed week for St. John's basketball. I feel like it was, on every day, which was great.
That was not bad. I'll take that.
That's always nice. I had a busy week. I had a work week. I was in Atlantic City for a conference, so that was fun, but
light on the
busy.
work, heavy on the Atlantic City.
Heavy
Tim?
on the,
For me, it was I mistakenly bet on St. John's for 2 games, and you can guess which ones I bet on.
Tim, no better than that. Come on.
I know. I got.
You got enough invested in it. You don't need
I know.
money
That's why we
invested
lost.
in it too.
I've been hitting.
Nick's looking at it like,
You're the reason why we lost.
Yeah, probably.
This is all on you, Tim.
Quite possibly.
Call
Yes.
Patino right now.
apologize.
Apologize.
I made Chris Lellam miss those rotations all those times. Yeah, that was me.
Over and over again.
Yep.
My week was good. I mean, I play in a wood bat baseball league, and our team made the championship. So
Nice.
next week, if anybody wants to follow the Jersey Shore Vibes, we got an Instagram page. So come follow the boys.
Oh, there you go.
Happy birthday too, Nick.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
It was my birthday this past week.
We had a delicious dinner at Benihana for his birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Benihana was lit.
On his actual birthday. There was no one around. No offense. Not that there was no one around, but I happened to be around.
I was in Atlantic City.
You only need to hear one statement about how our meal went, and you will know how incredibly delicious the food was, okay? The chef, for the first time ever at Benihana I've ever seen, I've been there how many times? Hundreds of times, right?
Many times.
Every year. for
Our
my birthday,
chef
at least.
created, with the egg, a flamingo picture on the grill.
with
I saw
with
it.
grass
I've never
and
seen
a
that.
sun.
With
it was crazy.
Just from that alone, I knew I was in for a great meal. And literally, the picture was spectacularly done. At first I was like, what is this guy doing? He's drawing flamingos.
Yeah.
He's got a sun, some grass growing out of the ground. I was like, my food is going to be absolutely fire. You know what else we did? Our guy created normally they get the little tower of onions.
Yeah.
Our guy
Little
created
choo-choo.
what kind of looked like a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
Literally, he took
No,
two. It was
literally.
2 onions. One was up, the other was on top of it, but in the other direction.
Like an hourglass.
Incredible.
so
It created
he
like a
made
cool
the,
funnel effect.
yeah.
It was great.
So he made the
was great.
nuclear power plant from The Simpsons.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah, that's exactly what it looked like.
It was great. It was
It
a
was
great Benihana experience. Highly
it was a
recommend.
funny Benihana experience too. The when Nick was away at school and we went out to dinner on Nick's birthday.
Oh yeah.
For Nick's birthday.
Yeah,
and they were
without
where
Nick.
is he? And we were like,
Without-
oh, he's
no,
actually not,
he's
here. We went
We
out
took
in
a picture
honor
though.
of his birthday.
They brought the candle out. We
Yeah.
took a picture.
They loved it. They thought it was the hilarious thing.
That
of all
was
time.
That and our cheap lunch we got at Benihana's.
If you don't know, Benihana's half off during lunch, except it's half price during lunch. Except that if you order, multiple things on top of
if
it,
you
And
double
drinks.
if you double up
And
your
drinks,
order, it doesn't make it
doesn't
any
make
cheaper.
it any cheaper.
No.
Oh,
we all walked
but it
away
was
with $8
delicious.
lunches.
But it wasn't-
Oh no.
It was a delicious dinner. It's still not the most I've ever spent on one meal. Craig, Applebee's following a St. John's game
In Queens
at Queens.
In
Yeah,
Queens.
anyone who's ever been out to the
Half-apps, that's
Queen
tough.
half apps.
and half apps.
Yeah, imagine that. Me and Craig, we sat down there after. I don't know what was it. What game?
We
was
lost.
It? Well, I know we lost, but I don't remember what. I don't even remember. What
I
game
don't
it was.
remember.
I don't know. We then watched Boise State lose, and the worst loss Boise State's had in the past 20 years. We sat through the entire thing and spent $75 in half apps each in beverages, half apps and beverages.
That's a boys' night. That's solid.
Let me
That's
tell you,
a
at Applebee's,
commiserate.
we committed. We committed. It was a hell of a move. Anyway, all right, let's get into some St. John's basketball.
Lots to talk about.
A lot to talk about. A lot of games.
4 games?
As I said in the last podcast, Feast Week is my favorite part of the early season. Better than opening week because there's just so much games.
I'm just so
so
hungry
many
for
games.
basketball, baby.
Well, not only that, there's games in the afternoon. We played at 1:30 on a Thursday.
Spectacular.
No better way to get out of work or avoid work than watching basketball, right?
That's
come on.
100%.
There's games at 11:30 a.m.
It's great.
it's great.
It is. And this week's better,
This week's
by the
better,
way.
that's
This week's
true.
better because you're off for a lot of the days, and the games continue all through the night.
And you
Even
got-
late. They got late night games, which is great.
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. And the Maui Invitational's coming up.
Maui Invitational. Great.
Maui Invitational is always good, and this field is insane.
Shout out to Maui. Obviously going through a rough time. They're having it in Oahu
Yeah, having
because of
Honolulu,
the
The fires.
fires. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but great matchup there. Gonzaga is playing
They have
Purdue.
They
They
have
start with
three-
Purdue.
They have 3 top 5 teams. In
Yeah.
that
Wow, I didn't realize that.
It's Purdue. It's Marquette.
Yeah.
Gonzaga, and Tennessee.
Tennessee, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and then in the other teams, UCLA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And
Marquette plays UCLA.
Yeah, it's their first game.
Star-studded.
Yeah.
Wow.
The other teams are good too. I can't even think of
They're
who
not bad. I mean, the Citadel, obviously, they play
Chaminade,
Kansas.
Chaminade.
Oh, sorry, Chaminade plays
yeah,
Kansas.
Kansas in that
Chaminade
bracket,
plays
too.
Kansas.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my
Kansas.
goodness.
That it's insane.
Oh, yeah, the Maui
It's insane.
Invitation was wild.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
don't sleep on Citadel
It's
this year.
Chaminade.
The Citadel has never been.
No, like I said,
Chaminade.
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 Well, I can't
I
speak for
I
Chaminade.
misspoke.
But also, it's the Citadel.
And they're in the South Carolina.
They're in the South
Yeah.
Carolina. It was a misspeak on my part. It was Chaminade was the school I was thinking of.
Right.
Anyway, but another great week. We have to go back a little further before Feast Week really started.
Feels
to
like a
look
long time
back.
ago.
It was a long time ago, and it was quite an unfortunate time. It was our first game in the Garden this season, and a quite unfortunate 89-73 loss to the Michigan Wolverines. We looked like the St. John's of old, to be completely honest. 36% from the field, 33% from three, 59% from the free throw line. That is not the Rick Pitino team we expected, not the Rick Pitino team we were looking for, and certainly not the Madison Square Garden opening that we had hoped for.
No, it definitely was. I mean, the atmosphere was electric at the beginning.
Yeah, for the first 8
and
minutes.
the crowd was very pro St. John's. I'm going to be real honest in a good way. I mean,
Yeah.
the stadium was, I would say, like 90% St. John's. It felt like, at least, and even that was with even Michigan with playing really well.
Absolutely.
So if St. John's had if we had played really well that night, it would have been extremely loud. But so that's a good sign. So I'm going to take that as the one positive was that it
The
was
crowd was
very
definitely
pro
there.
St. John, and it was packed. There are obviously not a lot to cheer about after the beginning.
After the first 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Then we started playing isolation ball, and then we got back into, we were the grad transfers, and we're guys who were scorers and did everything on the other team. So I'm just going to take over the game, and we stopped playing team basketball.
Yeah, it was not. I think we saw in that game that, listen, there's a lot of talent on this team, right?
Tons.
But it's a matter of them meshing together, and that didn't happen in the Michigan game, and it's going to take time for that to happen. But I do think that this was a perfect example of what happens when a lot of talented guys don't mesh, and it can result in a pretty sloppy,
Sometimes
upsetting loss.
Sometimes it takes time, I mean, we got 14 new guys, and then it takes a lot of time to mesh together. It doesn't always take a day.
Actually, in Rick, this is a little bit forward, but Rick Pitino talked about that in the press conference against Utah, actually.
To be not saying you in particular, I think people are just expecting too much of these guys, and I don't. They're 14 new people. Not one person has played for me. Not one person. These two guys just played against each other. Dreesa didn't play, so you got Joel. None of these guys played together. It's going to take some time. You watch Connecticut today. They're an offensive machine. They know how to cut, when to cut, what to do, but they've played together for so long. These guys have not. So I think patience is a virtue. I know in New York that's not a word that anybody has. Geno Smith can attest to that. There's no such a thing in New York as patience.
Well, they wrote him off, but he didn't write back. Geno Smith getting a little pop there from Rick Pitino. I agree. I mean, I think Rick hits the nail on the head there. These guys, there needs to be a little bit of patience. Now I'm not giving a lot of patience, right? We are from New Jersey and New York, and we do expect to win. So there is going to be a little bit of growing pains. There's going to be times where we don't mesh. That's what the not out of conference is for, right? That's why we play these early games. And the hope is that by the time we hit the middle of December and we play Xavier for the first Big East game, we've now reached a point where we're meshed and we're growing and we're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, come Big East time, we really have to be locked in, and that's really got to be the turning point. Like, we have good competition in the non-conference, but we don't have the toughest competition in the country. This will be a good time for us to get some good looks at some good teams, as we have throughout the Charleston Classic and all that. But by the time the Big East comes, that's when we should really be tightened up and a team. If we're not a team come the beginning of the Big East, it's not going to be a fun Big East season for us.
Yeah, I think also Michigan is better than they were previously expected to be.
They were expected to finish 11th.
Yeah,
they didn't look like
I can
that.
tell you. I
They
mean,
certainly looked better
They
than
looked
that.
a lot better than that. I mean, Doug McDaniel really was just
we'll
square well. It was
Yeah,
it was a tough game. It
we'll
was
see how it turns out, but
we'll see
I
how it
think
turns
they're
out.
going to be better than that.
It was a tough game, but
Without their head coach.
Without their head coach, they had Phil Martelli, who did you hear him say that the Garden is the second best basketball court in the country. The Palestra is number one. Sure, whatever.
I mean, he's a Philly guy. What do you expect?
I know. But I had to bring it up.
I mean,
come on now.
Yeah. By the way, Michigan can't complain too much about their coaching staff when your backup coach is Phil Martelli. Guys has the most wins in St. Joe's history.
For sure.
I mean, for sure. I think he may have the
by a
most
lot.
wins of any of the 5 Philadelphia schools. To tell you the truth.
I think that's
Maybe Fran Dunphy, but
Yeah, I think he has more. To tell you the truth,
he probably does.
remember.
He probably
Anyway, it's okay. It was disappointing at the
it
time.
was a tough game.
Fortunately,
it was just tough because it was our first game in the Garden. We wanted to come out. It was national. It was a big time.
I think that's what made it so disappointing, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't that,
and also the first 8 minutes,
we
were
looked
like
good.
We
we
looked
were like
great.
we got this.
we looked
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
and then it just fell apart.
Yeah.
Also, we selfishly, we where we sat, we were literally, if most of the Garden was red, 90% of it was red. You drew a circle of yellow around us, and that was
jeez.
like half of the
It
Michigan.
was. It happens to us all the time. I
was
don't really understand
ridiculous.
it.
They need to do a better job of making sure season tickets are grouped together in the Garden. They don't do a very good job of that. That is something they need to work on.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of resale.
I think people sell it.
I know there's a lot of
to be
resale, sure,
honest,
but it happens too regularly in sections that are definitely season tickets.
That's the row in front of us is always sold. So
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's
my guess is that's probably single. That's probably
Yeah, it's probably
single tickets though, because there's no way it happens so repeatedly. You know what I'm saying?
True.
I think anyway. All right. Well, going back to what Nick was talking about, fortunately, we had a lot of time to bounce back because we went right into the Charleston Classic. We talked about this group of team last week. There's a lot of good teams in this field, and we started with North Texas, who I think we, on our podcast, overlooked. But I think on the court, our guys certainly overlooked as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after coming off the Michigan loss, you were hoping to get a real good punch with North Texas, and it was closer than I would have liked, which definitely didn't, calm any of my fears after the Michigan game for sure.
That's
A win's a win's a win's.
Oh,
a win.
But hey, we won.
That's true. But this is also a team. As again, we
no, not knocking on North
this is a
Texas.
team that
but-
won the NIT last year.
Yeah, but I mean, look.
They got a new coach and they got a lot of
new coach. They
players.
got 6 new players,
Yeah, listen. Again, this is a
big
team we
team
should have beat by more.
which we did, but we won.
Well, we won.
So,
At the end of the day, you win.
At the end of the day,
A
it's
win
college
is a win.
basketball, not college football. You win the game, you win the game.
What
Check it
you
off.
don't like to see is 26% from 3.
No,
not
that's not
great.
good.
Not well, and 34% from the field is gross. I mean, gross day right there.
We're not going to win most games if we shoot that.
North
No.
Texas is a very good defensive team, and they showed that because both teams. There were I think there were a couple 7-minute stretches where neither team scored. It was just a rock fight. Is the best way to say it.
Yeah, like Nick said, whenever you're shooting as poorly as we shot, it's going to be hard to beat teams. And hopefully you don't have many days like that.
But we won.
But we won.
Win's a win's a
We
win.
won, and we got to move on to the next day, where we played Dayton. Dayton, a team projected to win the A10. Talented team for sure, and they got the best of us. 88-81 took us down. Better shooting, 48% from the field, 38% from 3. A little closer to the number we're looking for. That's nearer our average for this season so far. But it wasn't enough to get over the hump.
Dayton is a very good team. As you said, picked to win the A10. They're a solid team. And Dayton always has a very good program. They have a great fan base. The fans were there in full force. I don't know if
They
you were watching
certainly
the
were. It
tournament.
was loud for Dayton.
It felt like a Dayton home game. I mean, it was, and there was a great Johnny's contingent that was down there. Shout out to everybody that went down to Charleston. That was loud, but there was a lot of Dayton Flyer fans there. And Dayton shows out really well. They generally always do. This was a better effort. We played really well for 25, 26 minutes of this game. We were leading. We were in it. It was back and forth. And then we kind of fell apart. We let it fade a little bit. I think we ran out of gas a little bit. Definitely a better, though. Definitely better. I mean, Soriano obviously was Soriano.
21 points, 9 rebounds.
He's a monster.
He had a tough matchup with Deron Holmes.
He
the
did.
second. Deron Holmes is like an NBA prospect, so he's a good look at a very good talent.
Yeah, no. Look, they're very good.
They're good. I mean, they're supposed to win the A10.
They're supposed to win, and they ended up losing to Houston in the championship. But they're a team that a lot of people, if you listen to TV and you listen to talk of college basketball, they're a team that most people think actually have a shot at a at-large bid from the A10. which
Right.
it doesn't happen all that much. I think the A-10 gets a little bit of a bad rep. They're a good
They used to
basketball.
get it more at-large bids, but they haven't recently.
They're a good basketball conference.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
But they're a team that say that people say, listen, they may not have to win the A-10 to get in the tournament. So
Dayton future Big East team. What do you think?
listen, we should have added
That
them
would
before.
make so much
We
sense.
should have added them
Dayton
before.
makes a lot of sense.
They're
to
not
me.
Catholic. That's the only.
Yeah, Butler's not Catholic.
Listen,
UConn's not
listen.
Catholic.
I'm
UConn's
just
not.
telling you why we haven't added them yet. By the way, you add them, we absolutely should because they host the first 4 every year,
Every
and they
year,
make a
yeah.
lot of money from doing that.
Yeah,
Just add some nice revenue to the conference.
I think Dayton has a good fan base. They're generally very good. They would be an ad I'm okay with. I think would add to the conference. I mean, you have to add someone else with them. Obviously, you're not just adding them by themselves. But
Well, you wouldn't because we're at 11
Yeah, I was
right
gonna
now.
say 12 is okay. You
guess
can add
that's
them
true.
one at a time.
Dayton-
Dayton's also a basketball first school.
they're
Well,
basketball
yeah.
first school, and that is
That's huge.
important.
That's the
And-
most important factor.
So Dayton is actually a school that when we're talking about expansion, not that they necessarily are, but Dayton would be a school that I like. Look at their fan base. They have a good fan base. They spend a lot. Dayton
care
would be a
about
school that I
basketball,
think would
Great arena,
fit
by
in
the
the
way.
Big East. They would fit, and they're a good fit for us. They're
I
also
agree.
in that. They're in the footprint. They are in our general footprint.
They do help connect. Like they help connect Creighton and Marquette a bit
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
You know,
DePaul.
Well, DePaul is out. I know, and Butler are out there. What I'm saying is they help bridge
No,
that
yeah.
gap a little more, right?
Yeah.
Get a
They
couple
bring
more schools
Ohio
out there.
into it, which is kind of creates the connection throughout.
We'd have to see what
From-
Xavier probably not thrilled about it, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But
Fair.
anyway, that was
It's
just.
all right.
I was thinking about when I was watching the Dayton game. I'm like, at some point in the future, this could be a Big East matchup.
It could be.
Maybe.
Well,
Who knows?
listen, I think it would be a good addition. Well, Joel Soriano certainly had his handful because he got a 7-footer on Sunday when we went up against Utah. This is what we expected from this team from the get-go, right? 91-82 victory.
Yeah.
Now, I think there were certainly times where we took our foot off the gas, but we played extremely well in certain spurts
We did.
to the point where you were going. At one point we hit 3 threes in a row,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Which like.
We were on
Not for
fire
nothing.
from
When was the
the
last time St. John's hit 3 threes in a row? But it's we looked like the offensive team we expected coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean, this after a week of like up and down, this game really made you feel good. It really makes you come off the week feeling good about where we're coming, where we're gonna be, because we looked good. We shot amazing from the field. We moved the ball well. The defense was good. I know we gave up 82 points, but the defense looked much better, much more connected. There was more communication. I think overall, I think it was a really much better performance.
I think Patino's approach kind of helped the defense as well. Soriano only played 13 minutes in that first half
It was interesting.
as a way to limit his possibilities of fouls. Which I mean, listen, he's on paper, right, best player on the team.
Sure.
Interesting approach to say, you know what, I got to take my guy out because he has such a tough battle down low.
They did. I mean, it was super interesting because they have 2 7-footers, right? So Joel's gonna have his hands full all day. So to keep him only at 1 foul through the first half, the second half he was able to be much more aggressive. It was a very interesting strategy, and because he was able to do that because we were winning, right?
Correct.
We played well enough. The rest of the team played well enough that they didn't need Joel in there on every play. So they were able to whatever throughout. And Joel, frankly, outplayed both 7-footers. Not close. He played amazing
absolutely.
defense.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
didn't foul them. Like he was playing straight up, hands up,
Good
blocking it,
defense.
and where they were missing shots, which is hard to do down low because they were getting good position. But
Especially when you're 7 foot that low.
Yeah.
I mean, but Joel just played a great game. He blocked shots. He was Joel Soriano.
He was Joel
frankly. I mean,
Soriano. Now,
double-double,
listen,
12 and
as,
15.
As
I
you
mean,
said,
just-
we shot 50% from 3, right?
We did.
That's a huge, and it's
Oh,
not
it's
like
gonna
we shot 13 of 26. That's a lot of threes, and we hit a lot of them.
We almost hit our record.
50
16.
yeah, wow.
16 is our
We
record.
came
made
close.
it. We tied it at Tulane
We
when I
came
was
close.
manager.
53% from the field too, right?
Yeah.
We had a great day shooting. Like I said, this is the offense we expected from Rick Pitino's team.
Yeah.
This is the offense we were hoping for. And when that happens, it allows Joel Soriano to go and play defense against 2 7-footers and dominate.
And Jordan Dingle coming out party today for sure. He dominated the game offensively. He was making a lot of threes. Highlight dunk. I don't know if you
18 points.
Yeah, I mean the dunk was
Had himself a
spectacular. He
day.
split the defenders right in the middle, big dunk over 2 7 or right in between 7-footers. Amazing. Dingle looked great. Was the scorer? We know he could score, right? We always knew he could score, and he hadn't really gotten into the flow yet. But tonight he got in the flow. He
Yeah,
really got in the flow tonight.
Today was definitely his day. What worried me, but then we looked really good after it. We came out of the half, and then in the first 4 minutes, they had an 11-0 run. And then after that, we got the immediate timeout, and then we came out with an 11-2 run ourselves. So
we had a lot of runs.
Worries,
we did have a lot of runs,
yeah.
but and when you have runs, it's good. But then the drought, when the
you got
droughts
so
come,
many
they
runs,
hurt.
baby.
Yeah, but the I guess now listen. The concern was we got up 17 at one point.
Towards the end.
But we only won by 9, right? So we like I said, took our foot off the gas.
We did at the end of the game for
the
sure.
fear with that is, sure, you're doing it against Utah, who's a good team. How does that work in other situations, right? We can't get complicit being, okay, we've scored enough points to win the game.
Can't do that in the Big East.
It's just not a thing.
You got to finish the job.
That's right.
That was a lot of our problem with the past. In the past years, we've had an issue with easing up on the gas.
I think that's something that comes with gelling and coaching, I think Coach Pitino will get them into a point where that's not happening. But again, that goes back to what he talked about in the press conference. What we talked about, these guys are still getting together. They're still trying to form their identity as a team, and I think as time goes along, we'll see maturity in areas like that.
I entirely agree. One guy I also wanted to shout out from this game is Naheem Aline, who I think gave a great spark off the bench. He can stroke it from 3. I mean, he really can. If he steps back, he's good. He really can play, and he played really well. He hadn't played as much throughout the early parts of the week, but I think he's a good player. He's going to be a good player for us going down the stretch off the bench. He can shoot really well and plays really good defense. So I just wanted to shout him out because he had a great game. 10 points today.
All right, good shout out there, Craig. As we're doing shout outs, let's take a look. Spotlight Player of the Week time. A lot of games to look over, so there's a lot of opportunity here. Tim, you weren't here last time. We had the struggles with Craig on week 1 and the struggles with Craig on the question. With Nick number 2. So Tim, I'm coming to you first. Your Spotlight Player of the Week. Give me something good.
If you listen to the previous season and listen to the people I've picked,
oh boy,
it always rhymes with Yoel Noriano. So my pick will be Joel Soriano.
Tim, I had such high hopes, right? I was like, wow, Craig and Nick just so terrible. They give me nothing, and then you walk in and you just give me the same vanilla every time you do the Spotlight Player of the Week.
I give you the best vanilla. That's equal to a double-double every week. He was the consistent factor in each and every game. He's the guy who's shooting high percentages. He's the guy who's grabbing the rebounds. He's the guy who's doing big things on defense because we're missing rotations. He's the guy, even in the losses, that is a huge part of making these guys push harder. He's the captain. He runs the team.
All right, Tim. Just pick the best player every time. I understand. All right, Craig, who's your Spotlight Player?
You can come to me, but I'm going to say the same thing. When you look at the whole week, right? I mean, look, if you're talking about certain games, there may be different people, but if you look at the consistent over the course of the week, it has to be Joel Soriano. And last week, none of us voted for him, so I think we all feel bad about that. But no, this week, I think you have to. He dominated really in every game, even the games, as Tim said, that we lost. He played very well. So it's got to be Joel Soriano this week.
All right. Now we're going to go to Nick, who loves big men, and he's going to let me down.
Pause. I'm not going to let you down because I'm not picking Soriano. I'm picking the other big man, Ejiofor, who in Dayton showed out off the bench. What? What's the laughter about? What, you don't like Ejiofor?
Nick, I got it. I just didn't see it coming. That's all I got to say. I just didn't see it coming.
Hey, I got to keep you guys on your toes. You know what I mean?
All right.
Zuby Ejiofor in the Dayton game showed out off the bench. He showed that he can be a very reliable and sturdy, in my opinion, a very reliable and sturdy backup for Soriano. And when he gets in foul trouble and when we're playing in the Big East, he's going to be a very crucial piece of our team. More than we realize right now, I think.
I mean, our front court is thin. So.
I like that turn there. Now, you secured the victory for Joel Soriano as the Spotlight Player of the Week with that vote, because I will not be voting with you. I'm going to go with Dennis Jenkins. I think that he is just a consistent, strong player. I mean, you look at his lines from the past weeks, right? I mean, obviously Joel had the most points in in any of the games by having 21, but Jenkins had 19 against Utah, right?
Yeah.
He had 12 against Dayton. He had 17 against North Texas. He had 10 against Michigan, right? Maybe he's not the most flashy guy, but he's a guy who gets it done, and he's a guy who is out there in our guard position doing what needs to be done in the front court, so that Joel Soriano can play, down low. And I that's why I think he was the player of the week.
Jenkins definitely had a really good game, especially against Utah.
Yeah.
He did. But I still think he's still
It is Joel Soriano because you got 2 votes. So he's
right.
the spotlight player. Joel Soriano. Start the tally. He's got 1 so far. Spotlight player of the week. Last week we had a tie, so nobody got it.
We gave it to Joe Soriano after.
No, we didn't. I don't agree with that.
Joe Soriano.
If nobody
I don't
wins,
agree
nobody
with
wins. You don't get a trophy just because we couldn't come to a consensus.
Rick Pitino is the spotlight person of the
There
week.
you go. All right, if only we can get that Rick Pitino tournament going. Right? We gotta schedule that out.
It's in the works.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. We're talking to our people. Our people are talking to other people.
We're trying to get the Rick Pitino tournament. But speaking of tournaments, next year, big announcement, we're going to Baha Mar, Bahamas tournament.
Pack your
Book your
sunscreen.
flights.
Book your flights now. Great field, by the way. Virginia, Tennessee, Baylor, and us. It's just a semifinal championship
good.
type tournament. It's great. It's at the Baha Mar Resort down there.
Which is a beautiful resort.
Beautiful resort. The Bahamas I hear are beautiful. I've never been, but it should be a fun one. I think it will be a good early test. Right. This is what we want from Rick Pitino. This is what Rick Pitino wants. Big tests at the beginning of the season, and this tournament puts us with 2 of the past 4 national champions. Coach Pitino actually touched on this in his post-game press conference after the Utah win.
Get us ready for the Big East, but these guys didn't leave Harvard and Penn to play that non-conference schedule. They came to play in Madison Square Garden and to play these great teams. That's what they wanted, to showcase their abilities and play. They didn't want to play some teams that buy games. So, we're never going to do that here at St. John's. We're never going to open up with 4 teams that we should beat. We're going to play tough. Like I told you, we're trying to open up with Alabama next year. We're trying to play Duke in the. We're trying to play all of them to get ready for. Kevin Willard did that at Seton Hall, and I think he had a great formula in getting Seton Hall to the NCAA.
Obviously, Pitino in that press conference, he's sitting next to Ledlam and Dingle there from Harvard and Penn is who he's talking about. But that tournament is part of what Rick Pitino's talking about. If we start the season with Alabama and we play Duke in the U.S. Tennis Center, and now we've got games against Tennessee, Baylor, or Virginia, you're looking at a non-conference schedule that's going to be extraordinarily highly ranked, and going to be games that get you prepared for the NCAA tournament.
It's true. You develop good habits. You play tough teams. And look, you're not going to win all of those games. When you play good teams, you don't win all those games. But you learn something, and going into the tournament, that helps you going forward through the rest of the year. Going out and blowing out the 250th best team in the country is fine once in a while, because you do need some warm-up games to gel together. But doing that on a consistent basis, that doesn't prepare you for the regular season.
It's like what Davidson did. Davidson played when Steph Curry was there. They played played in a lot of early season. They did bye games, and then they met him in the tournament.
Yeah, you do need a few of those games just because you do need to keep your win count up, right? You need to make sure you have enough wins to make the tournament.
Fair.
But you can play. You can certainly reduce the number. You can play 4 of those games, 3 of those games throughout the entire non-conference.
Or we could just win some of them games.
Well, I mean, you're certainly counting on beating the good teams, but listen, I don't think anyone would be opposed to playing, a game against Fordham, a game against Hofstra, one game against a team like Stony Brook and Holy Cross, right? You play, if those were the only 4 bye games, or you played 2, or you played 3, people are going to go, okay, it's not going to hurt you,
Everybody
right?
plays those games.
Everybody plays those games, and to be honest, those games do have some importance as well. I don't buy the full, you shouldn't do that at all. I think those games have their thing because they are games where you can try out different stuff, right? I can try out a different line of players. Sure. I can try out this, knowing, in most cases, I'm going to be able to handle this team regardless. So I do think there's a spot for those, but listen, anytime where you can build your schedule to a place where it's going to give you the biggest benefit at the end of the year, you should do it. And clearly, Rick Pitino's trying to do
We're
that.
talking about a monster schedule next year.
If
he puts the
is,
schedules together, that is a tough schedule.
I mean, you start with Alabama, you're playing Duke, you got those teams. our out of conference has, routine. We're gonna have somebody with the Big Ten's done, right? The Gavitt
Big Ten-
tip-off's
yeah,
done.
that's
We do have the Big
over.
12 though. We're gonna have a game
So
of the
a
Big 12.
game,
So we still have a Big 12 game.
Without the Big Ten game, we'll have an extra.
We'll have an
out of
extra. That's what I
conference.
say. Well,
Yeah.
that may be the
That might be the
Alabama.
Alabama or Duke game.
Yeah.
Probably Duke. Yeah.
Well, I
Probably.
mean, to tell you the truth,
Regardless,
we
it doesn't
typically
matter.
have Duke, so we've had Duke in the past. So we still have another open game.
Whatever the case may be, it's a monster schedule.
Yeah, it's a bad monster.
Hey,
schedule.
but that's good.
That's good.
And that's where we want to play anyway. By the way,
Yeah.
National brand teams, big time teams play big time teams.
You're right.
Correct.
Because
You
those
know-
games get on TV, they get noticed. They
So
get
you know what's funny?
replayed. That's what we
this
want
is
to
it's building off that point. It's kind of a small thing, but I've noticed it. If you watch, and it's going to sound kind of a little silly, but if you watch the local news in New York, right, 2, 4, 5, 7, every time St. John's has played, we're included in the sports section, like in the sports coverage, which had not happened. Okay. When St. John's played big games, they may cover it on the local news. Now every time there's a St. John's piece when we play, they show the highlights. They show the score, which I know it sounds like a small thing, like it's kind of weird, but like that's.
It's a little thing.
It's not. It's a little thing, but it's kind of big, right? That's how you get more recognition because,
Sure.
People who love college basketball watch college basketball. People who don't. But you can get people to buy in if they see, oh wow, St. John's is doing really well, right? I'm a New York person. St. John's is doing well. I know that because I watch the local news.
Hey, I should go to a game.
Maybe I'll go to the game because first of all, tickets are not that expensive to college basketball games,
Right.
And there's a lot of them, right? So there's a lot of opportunity, and if you can build your brand a little bit through something like that, I think it's a good outreach, and I think it's shows the Pitino effect, right? They don't cover the team when it's not Rick Pitino, and now they do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
No, it's big.
In Rick, we trust.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, this week is unfortunately light, as heavy as last week's was with the games, where we played, Thursday and Friday and no Saturday, but Sunday. Unfortunately, this week we've got one game, and it's Saturday, so we're going to have to wait a long time to get there.
At least Thanksgiving's in the middle.
That's it. Thanksgiving in the middle, which is fun. There's a lot. I mean, there is a lot of basketball to watch, which is nice. I guess in a good way, I won't have to be upset from a St. John's loss, so I can kind of enjoy the basketball a little bit more. But anyway, our one game this week, Saturday, Holy Cross at Carnesecca Arena, 7 p.m., also on Fox Sports 2. Holy Cross 2-4 on the season. They were picked 4th in the Patriot League, so they're a decent middle of the pack, mid-major school.
Solid.
Big win for them though. They beat Mr. Ed Cooley and the Georgetown Hoyas 68-67 in Georgetown's home court. They
love
hit
when
a 3 with 56 seconds to go, and that sealed the victory for them.
I absolutely love when Georgetown loses.
I love that Ed Cooley's start to Georgetown has had that involved in it.
Ed Cooley is like public enemy number 1 in the Big East. Providence hates him.
We hate
St.
him.
John's fan hate him, and now he's at Georgetown, who we really hate.
Yeah.
I
The
I love nothing more than
Couldn't
Ed
happen
Cooley
in
back
nicer
to
back at
hate.
Providence is going to be like appointment television.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
gonna be great. But yes,
Absolutely.
so they're Holy Cross. Again, this is one of the bye games Rick Pitino was just talking about. Is it a game we should absolutely win? Yes. Is the hope that Rick Pitino's teams don't blow these games? Yes. So we're going into this similarly as we almost went to the North Texas game, saying this is almost an absolute win. But I really think this is more like the Stony Brook game, where this is going to be a victory. It's just a matter of making sure we take something out of it, right? Learn something from this, and use this to build and mesh together. Their best player, just for note, Joe Octave is his name, 13 points per game. He also leads the team in rebounds. He's kind of a do-it-all guard, and he's the guy who hit the shot against Georgetown, 56 seconds to go to seal that victory. So
He'll be the guy to watch out for. But I think you're right. I think that's going to be a game. It's at Carnesecca. It's a game we should win. And hopefully we do. Look, we have a week, get ready for it, so they should be focused on it and ready to go.
As long as we take care of business, we're gonna win this game, baby.
yeah. So it's funny. Speaking of being prepared, I was watching the Utah game. They talked about how during like walkthroughs, right, which is a normal event in college basketball. They talked about how like most teams just walk through. They get a feel for the arena. Well, not St. John's. St. John's, Rick Pitino has them practicing during the walkthrough, real practices during the walkthrough, which I thought was great. And I think it's great because this team needs to mesh and needs every opportunity possible to play together and do things together. So the hope is that these trips to these tournaments do that as well.
2-1 in Charleston is a good outcome.
We'll take that. We wish
Yeah,
we got the
yeah.
matchup against Houston,
Correct.
but we'll take that.
I mean, I kind of assumed going into the tournament that we would end up 2-1, right?
That's true.
I thought
That's
we'd
true.
beat North Texas. I would hope when we would beat Dayton, and then I figured we probably would lose to Houston. I wanted a shot at them, but I figured we'd probably lose. That's 2-1. So we're 2-1 with a different 2-1.
I think
Without
without
it's not
if we
solid.
didn't have the Michigan loss, I would say, okay, we had a really successful tournament, right?
Yeah,
It's just the being in the same week, right?
Yeah.
You had the Michigan
fair.
loss, which was a letdown. Then you're like, oh, we barely beat North Texas. I know it's a win, but right, you're like, oh, well, what happened? And then we lost at Dayton. So you're in the 3 games in to start that week.
Yeah.
You went 1-2 when you really thought we would go 2-1. So it was
True.
like, oh, well,
That's
this
true.
is not great.
True.
Now, obviously, you bounce back with the win against Utah, right? Now, if you told me at the beginning of the year, oh, you're going to start 3-2, I would have gone, oof. I was hoping to start 4-1.
Correct. That's fair.
But again, 3-2, not terrible. The hope is Michigan goes on and plays really well, and Dayton goes on and plays really well, and they continue to boost our out of conference now because that's all we can really hope for them.
Hey, we got 5 games left in our non-conference, including the Holy Cross one. Hopefully, we get 5 wins.
That would be yeah. I mean, look, if we end the non-conference at what 8? Oh, end the non-conference at 8-2.
That would be pretty good.
That'd be pretty solid.
And that'd be wins against West Virginia, who's a big, he's a Big 12 team, and then Boston College with the ACC team. So that'd be pretty good.
That is true. It is weird because you have the Xavier UConn sandwich in the middle, but yes, the hope would be that at the end of the when the games are done, right?
I'm sorry, we have 6 non-conference. I missed the Hofstra when I was just looking at it. I missed it down the list.
Because
We have
it's
6
weird.
more.
We have the 2-game sandwich between, but yeah, you finish 8-2. I guess 9-2
9-2.
Right.
would be the hope. You finish 9-2. If your out of conference schedule is 9-2, and whatever happens in the Xavier and the UConn game, regardless, that's a solid out of conference. You now have you have some decent losses. Your losses to Michigan and Dayton. Again, if depending on where they go, you
don't
can
kill
build
you.
that schedule. They don't kill
Yeah,
you,
no.
and you're looking at a resume that
Is
is
attractive.
starting to head towards being attractive for the tournament, which is obviously the plan.
And we will have RJ Luis for the next game. So
That's right.
we will have a guy that was highly praised by the coaching staff during the offseason before he, I don't know if it was a fracture or
Broke his hand of some sort. Yeah.
he injured his hand and it was in a soft cast. So having a guy that's a 40% shooter that can create his own shot, it's a 6'7" guard, that can only help us.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that.
I mean, there was a thought he could start. So you're adding
Right,
another
right.
guy who's a very high level player.
And listen, if we're shooting like we shot in the Utah game, right, and we're adding into that, the hope is that number goes up, right? You're shooting 50% from 3, 53% from the field. Better shooters move that percentage up. Hard pressed to
If we
to
shoot
lose the games when you're shooting above 50%.
I mean, frankly, if we shoot like that, we're not going to lose very many games.
yeah, and that's the hope.
Hey, that's the hope. I don't want to lose any games.
Listen, maybe we just won't lose again.
Oh man, that'd be great.
I'm okay
Now
with that.
until April, we just win every game.
I'm okay with that.
What a world that would be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the hope would be you like throw-
Unrealistic, but what a world that would be.
certainly unrealistic. But by the way, I've always thought this, and I've always felt it's better to throw a clunker right before like the tournament or right before the Big East tournament because I just don't
Yeah.
feel like you can win that many games in a row, right?
It's true.
So throw the clunker, on March 4th, and then you can win the Big East tournament and win out, right?
Hopefully, we're at the top of the Big East, and we're like, we're gonna win every way, every game. It doesn't matter.
I'm telling you, I still think you need to. I still think you need to throw a clunker because I just feel
The
like there's-
clunker's coming at some point.
That's what I'm saying. And to tell you the truth, it then becomes the story, right? Like think about Gonzaga when they were undefeated in the tournament. It was they're undefeated. Oh, could they stumble here? Oh, right? And you don't want that pressure. If you blew it, they're not undefeated anymore, right? But then you go right back to it. Bang! Big East tournament win, NCAA tournament win. That'd be great. It'd also be great because we would be the best team probably in the history of college basketball, having lost only 2 games in a big from the Big East conference.
Yeah.
You got a shot there
recent times.
of being a historically great team, but unrealistic. Anyway, I digress. So that'll do it for Craig, Tim, and Nick. I'm Vincent. Go Johnnies. Keep chasing.